So am I audible to the people over the web now? Now I think I should be audible. Yeah, good. Let me start from beginning. Sorry for that stuff. Okay, sir. So what I want to tell is, once I have logged in into Azure, okay. So this is your home page, or this is your login screen, and in this you would see all services. This all services is the whole list of all the services which are supported by Azure. Okay, right. So now in cloud terms we have discussed this, but service is what Azure offers. Service is what Azure offers. Resource is what you create. Now I want to create a Linux machine. So for that I need something from Azure. That something from Azure is service. My intention is to create a virtual machine. That is a resource which you are trying to create. So in Azure, this is a service. As I said, there is this favorite section. This is marked by Azure by default for all of us. But if you want to add anything to this favorite section, all you need to do is select that and star that. Once you star it, you would be able to see that over. So for example, bot services I have added to my favorites. If I want to remove, just unstar it. Okay, right, sir. Now I want to create a virtual machine. So let me click on virtual machines. So create Azure virtual machine. So generally I don't use Indian regions, but for today's class, not audible now? I think that is ఫిక్స్ అయింది అనుకుంటుంది. ఆడియో వస్తలేదా? చేస్తానమ్మా, ఫిక్స్ చేస్తాను. ఓకే ఓకే, right. So in Azure, whenever you want to create anything, you need something called as resource group. This resource group is collection of some items for some kind of an activity. So for example, I am working on dev environment of some application. So probably I might create a resource group. So let me create a resource group, and then let me try to call this resource group as learning. Can give any name to this, and then to this virtual machine I'll give the name of it as Qt DevOps. And now let me select any Indian region. So South India, okay, or you can take Central India. Central India is Pune and South India is Chennai. Where is that? Okay, fine, whatever it is. Alright. Now here the operating system which I select is some Ubuntu server, because I want to log in into a Linux machine. Okay. Now the size that is free for 12 months is standard underscore B1S. If you look at this, this is a machine with one virtual CPU and 1 GB of RAM. Yeah, this is a machine with one virtual CPU and 1 GB RAM. And now over here, if you try to see, there are two things. One is SSH public key, the other one is password. Okay, so you can go with key based authentication or password based authentication. If you remember, we said that there are two kinds of things. One is key, the other one is username. So let us basically try to understand key based authentication, because this key based authentication exists wherever you are creating Linux machines. Okay, right, sir. So now generally Okay. Here you create a key pair. Here what is that you do? You create a key pair. And when you create a key pair, you will be getting two keys. One is called as a public key, the other one is called as a private key. Okay. So if to understand it much better, okay, let us think of this key pair, okay, as okay. Yeah. I have some door. Okay. So for this door, I have created two keys. Okay. The way this locking system works is, if you lock this door with private key, you will be able to only unlock it with public key. If you lock it with public key, you will be able to only unlock with private key. So lock and unlock is not on the same key, but they are on different key. So when you create this key pair, which looks something like this, okay, so how it works, if you lock it with private, you can only be able to unlock with public. So in your graduation, you might have learned something called as asymmetric encryption. Okay, so where it means that to encrypt and decrypt, if you are not using the same key, if you are using a different key, that is called as asymmetric encryption. Technically, that is basically what it is. But for us to understand, it is like a door with a special locking system where two keys are given to you. If you lock with private, you will be able to unlock with public. If you lock with public, you will be able to unlock with private. So now, if you want to create this key in your system, okay, what you can do is go to your system and then execute a command which is called as SSH Keygen. Okay. Sorry. To generate the key, execute SSH Keygen on terminal. Okay. So once you execute, you would it would look something like this. So it says that you want to save the file over here and all of that stuff. I am not going to continue this because for me I already have a key. In your case, generate the key. So today everyone is expected to do this. If you are on a Linux machine, also the story is same. Mac story is same. Windows story is same. Okay. But ensure that in Windows you are on Windows 10 and above. I think we have discussed about why Windows 10 and above. Okay. Sir, this is not a Linux grooming session, sir. I am not sure why you have missed. This is grooming for anything. Anything with respect to cloud and DevOps, the basic stuff which you require. So I would recommend please go through previous classes. Please. Okay, there are 4 sessions that have happened. Go through all of them. Okay. Right. So now once you do this, okay, if you go into C drive, users, Dell, you will see a folder which is called as .ssh. If you remember, any folder or file that starts with dot on a Linux machine is a hidden file or hidden folder. That is what we have discussed in the last session. In this, are you seeing id underscore RSA and id underscore RSA.pub? So this pub is my public key. This id underscore RSA is my private key. So now, do we have this key pair now? Okay. Right. Now, to the cloud, let it be AWS cloud or Azure cloud. Okay. What we will try to tell is, I will be giving you my public key. So what is that we will be doing? We will be giving a public key to the cloud. Okay. Private key is something which you would keep with yourself. And whenever you want to log in into a machine, especially Linux machines, you will log in with private key. And cloud will check whether the private key and public key pair are matching or not. If they are matching, it will allow you to log in. Other approach is you can use username and password. But username and password is not considered to be secure. This is considered to be a secure approach. Okay. Right. So now do I have a public and private key pair? Okay. So let me go to Azure. Azure. Upload your key pair or public key to Azure. In the next step, we'll be doing the same thing with AWS. This could be also called as import. Now, right. Okay. So you can search for service which is called as SSH keys. Okay. Now select SSH keys and then are you seeing create? So click on create. I have already imported this key, but that's okay. Let me import with a different name. So I'll click on create. Okay. So the best idea is always to create a resource group and don't delete this resource group. Okay. So create a resource group called as my SSH keys. Okay. But in my case, since I already have that resource group, I am basically selecting it. My key pairs. For you, create it. And then what is the name? My key. Are you seeing it? Then here there is an option saying that generate new key pair. So if you ask cloud to generate, cloud also will generate a key pair. It will keep public and give it to you private file. Okay. So, but over here we want to upload the existing public key. So what is it asking? Paste the public key over here. So now one thing which you can do is select this path. Okay. Notepad dot public, and whatever your public key contents are, copy them and paste them over here, and then try to tell review and recreate. Once you do this activity, then you can log in into Azure machines with the key that is generated on your system. Are we clear on this, sir? Okay. So this is the first approach. Second approach is you cannot ask Azure to generate the stuff for you and use the private key. Download the private key and keep it with you. That anyway we'll be doing in the classes in next tomorrow and day after tomorrow sessions. That I am not worried about. Okay. But this is the thing which I would recommend you to use. Okay. Create a resource group, execute key pair, import that so that every time you can use the key pair of your system. There is no need for you to remember any passwords. Okay. Right. So let us start creating virtual machine now. Yes. So let me go to home virtual machines, create a Azure virtual machine. Learning, Qt learning. I said that I want the stuff to be in any Indian region. Okay. So my operating system, any Linux operating system. Let me select Ubuntu. And size B1S. And are you seeing SSH public key? Yeah. Right, sir. So here you can give any username, whatever username which you want. I will be giving a username called as Dell. Generate a key pair. No, I don't want to generate key pair. I want to use the existing key stored in Azure. Just now we have selected or we have created a key called as my key. Any problem so far? I am using the key that I have generated right now. Okay. Let me give screenshots of all of this. It might be trickier, but practice this. We are creating a free machine, so there is no cost involved also. Okay. Pardon me? There is no cost involved in whatever activity which we are trying to do, because we are creating a free machine. Okay. But after you finish doing this activity, ensure that you are removing the resource group. I'll show you that one also. Create virtual machine. So someone is asking, is this Azure class? No, sir. Immediately after this, you will learn how to create a virtual machine in AWS also. Okay. And rest of the things, don't even worry about it at this moment. Just say review and create. Okay. Just see what is missing. Nothing is missing. Okay. Now, don't worry about the price that is being shown there. That is for the people who don't have free tier account. If you don't have a free tier account and if you are still creating this machine will cost you 1.1 rupees per hour. That is what it means. For you, the bill will be 0. Okay. And most of you are in the first month of free trial. If you remember the first month of free trial, you have $200 of credit. Okay. So there is no cost involved for you. Okay. Now shall I do the same activity in AWS? Okay. Then we will log in into both the machines. Okay. Okay. AWS virtual machine, but AWS calls it as EC2. Okay. So what is required? Let me try to write about free plan. So free plan size is t2.micro or t3.micro. These are free sizes. So I would recommend you to create that. Okay. Now the first thing which you will try to do is key pair import. So let me log in into AWS now. Okay. So you are doing this for the first time, right? Okay. Log in into Azure portal. Okay. https://portal.azure.com. So that web page which you are seeing is called as portal in Azure. In the case of AWS, we call it as console, the web interface to work with cloud. Okay. Right. So okay. Now, once you go into AWS, select the region which is Mumbai. Okay. So there is also Hyderabad, but Hyderabad might not be enabled to you by default. We will learn how to enable that in AWS class. So in this, if you try to look at services, in AWS, you can search the services over here. Okay. If you want to add that to the favorite section, you can click on this and it will be added over here. Okay. The way favorites are handled are slightly different, but there is a favorite section in both of them. I generally don't go with favorites in the case of AWS. So let me search for EC2. If you remember, we have private key and public key. So are you seeing this section called as key pairs? Yeah. Select this key pair section. And navigate to EC2. Okay. Now let me select key pairs. And in key pairs, if you try to look at actions, there is something called as import. So just like in Azure, there are two options over here. One is to import, the other one is to create. Create means you are tasking cloud to create. So it will create and give the private key to you. But import means you have both the keys and you are giving public key to cloud. Right. Now select import. Then give my key. Here you can copy paste the key, or you can browse the file also. Okay. Since we have copy pasted, let us follow the same approach over here also. Okay. Yeah. I'm minimizing this so that everything fits one image. Okay, you can zoom and check in the notes. Import key pair. Alright, sir. Now, do we have key now? Now click back on EC2 dashboard and then are you seeing launch instance? Okay. Let's create a EC2 instance. EC2 instance is nothing but virtual machine. Okay. Launch instance. So go to the dashboard and then create. Okay. How to log in if I lose my PEM file? To the knowledge what we have, the option is delete the virtual machine, create a new key pair. Okay. Once you know little bit deeper of Azure and AWS, there are ways to recover. Okay. But they are not straightforward. Okay. If there is a easier way to recover, that is not secure. Okay. Here we are discussing about security aspects, right? So key easy-ga generate అయిపోతుంది అనుకోండి, ఇంకా దాని security ఉంది. Right. Now over here, let me again call this as learning. I am following the same names in AWS and Azure also. Okay. Over here are you seeing Ubuntu? So you are selected. Learning and then you have selected Ubuntu. Right, sir. So right now it is selecting Ubuntu 22.04. If you want, you can select 20.04 also. All you need to do is just select the drop down. Okay. Sorry, saying 20.04 over here. If I want to create 20, I would have selected this. Okay. Right. Now, what is your machine size? My machine size is T2 micro. And then key pair, my key. So don't worry about any other thing. Now you basically try to tell launch instance after selecting this. Right. So now once you click on that button, it would show something which looks like this, but let us wait for this to be in running state. So did we create a virtual machine in AWS as well as in Azure? Even if it is Google Cloud or Oracle Cloud, it will be something similar to this. You select an operating system, you select how to log in, you select the size of the virtual machine and operating system of the virtual machine. Right. Now let me go back to Azure. Azure tries to tell that I have created the virtual machine. You can go to the resource. Okay. So in both the Azure and AWS, we have created the Ubuntu machines. Do you agree with me on this? Yes? Okay. Oh, sorry. Now, SSH login. The way you log in is SSH, the command for this is SSH -i and path to private key, and then username @ IP address. This is the command. Okay. So what is it? SSH -i, and then you need to give path to your private key. So in the case of myself, okay, SSH -i, this stands for home directory. Whenever you try to look at to tilde symbol, this stands for home directory. Home directory in the case of Windows is C users and username. C users and username. So C users and my username is Dell. And in this there is SSH folder. So I'll be trying to tell that in the Dell there is .sh folder. And the IP, the username which I have given for that is Qt DevOps, if I am not wrong. Okay. @ when you create virtual machine, or when you go into the virtual machine, you will be getting a public IP address. So if you go over here, public IP address for me is this. Now let me copy this, get into terminal, and then let me rename this terminal and let me call it as Azure VM login. Okay, and then paste this command, or you can type this command also, it is not that great. SSH -i in my home directory in SSH, I have a file which is called as id underscore RSA. That is my private key. Okay, and the username of this machine is Qt DevOps. Oh, sorry, not Qt DevOps. It was, if you remember, it was Dell. Yeah, so Dell at the rate 104 dot. So it is basically trying to tell that, do you want to log in or connect to this machine? Just try to tell yes. Click enter. Are you saying you are inside the Linux machine? Yeah. So generally, how do you know whether you are in a Linux machine or not? Okay, let me try to create a Windows machine and let me execute a command called as uname. So what is it trying to tell? There is no command with this name. Let me execute the same command over here. Are you getting some information? So are we in a Linux machine? And generally, if you look at this prompt also, this starts with $. Dell at the rate Qt learning. So are we inside the Linux machine, sir? Yes? Okay. So there is one more interesting thing. Okay. So let me log out. This time I am SSH. I am executing the SSH command. And I give only IP address. So but what is the SSH command? SSH -i path to PEM file username at the rate IP address. But I have given, what is that I have given? SSH and IP address. Okay. Okay. Not here. Let me open it from git bash. Okay. SSH and, did I log in? How do you think it is working? Okay. So what it means is, if you don't give path to PEM file, it will take id underscore RSA by default. If you don't give username, it will take your username by default. So what is my laptop's username? My laptop's username was also Dell. Okay. So for me, if I do SSH and just give IP address, by default it has taken id underscore RSA as a key, username as Dell, which is exactly matching with what is present in Azure. So that's the reason I can log in directly by SSH and IP address. Okay. Right. So shall we try to connect to AWS machine now? Yes. Okay. Now, if you select AWS machine, okay, there are two areas which you need to look into. One is IP address. The other one is click on this connect session. Because in AWS, if you remember, while creating the machine, we have not given the username. Nowhere we have given the username. So AWS itself should tell us what is the username. So let me click on connect now. So let us look into this. What is the username which AWS is trying to tell? Ubuntu. Generally, once you start using AWS, you will understand the default names because you will be using it. Okay, but the username is Ubuntu. So what is the command now? Command is SSH -i in my home directory in .ssh. I have id underscore RSA Ubuntu at the rate whatever public IP address which I got. So in your case, you might be getting a different public IP address. Okay. So your command will differ. Okay, right. So now let me go over here, rename AWS EC2 login, and then let me try doing this. Okay, so again I'll execute the command which is called as uname. So can we create the machine and then log in into the machine, sir? Okay, let it be AWS or Azure, whatever account which you have, connecting to the machine and then logging in into it. Okay, so once you want to do something on this Linux machine, since we have this Linux machine, you can practice Linux over here, learn Linux over here, and once you are done with your work, delete the machine. Okay, right. So one more thing, let us come back to the default settings by now. So what is the username of AWS machine? Ubuntu, right? So now if I try to tell SSH and then give just the IP address, it will not work because username is not Dell. Okay, when I do this, it will take the username as Dell. But I can do this, Ubuntu @ not give -i because, okay, right. So what's the issue? Right, there is no other way. I think we'll try to look into this. There is some permission issues. Okay, Ubuntu. Oh, not permission issue, sir. My spelling was mistake. Is it working? Yeah. So now defaultly it will take ID underscore RSA, but username was different. So I have just given username @ IP address. Okay. So today I would recommend everyone trying this. Okay. If you have any issues, we'll have a session tomorrow also at the same time. Okay. Tomorrow it might be completely online session, so I'll not have offline because I'm not doing good. My throat is not in a decent condition, so I'll not be here today. Since I have not announced, I came over here. So tomorrow for all of you we'll have an online session, and if you have any issues, ensure that you have any desk, okay, or if you are on Linux or Windows machines, you don't have a problem, you have something called as Quick Assist from Microsoft which you can use. Okay, so if there are any issues, I'll get assistants, lab assistants helping you, or we can solve the issues over here. So tomorrow I want everyone in the class to import a key and then connect to whatever cloud account which you have. So let it be AWS or let it be Azure. Okay, and one important thing is how to delete this. So in Azure, go to the resource group which you have created. So we have created a resource group called as learning. Delete resource group. Are we clear on this, sir? In Azure, you are supposed to delete resource groups. Clean up. So how do you clean up? Delete resource group. So select the resource group, and then click on delete. Okay, just say this, delete, it would delete. In the case of AWS, select this machine, and are you seeing this instance state? Select the instance state and then try to tell terminate instance. Terminate means delete this virtual machine. So depending on what cloud you are working on, okay, because let it be AWS, if you are learning AWS, if you are learning Azure, even if you are learning only DevOps, okay, we need some cloud account so that we create workloads. Okay, so I would want you to try at least in one cloud before coming to tomorrow's session, so that we can understand any issues which you are facing. Okay, go through this class once again. It would be little bit tricky, but if you have understood what we have done, we have created something called as key pair, private key and public key, and then we have uploaded our public key to AWS or Azure cloud. Okay, and then whenever we are connecting to the machines, we are giving a reference to our private key, and AWS is verifying, or cloud is verifying, that your private key and public key are pair or not. If they are pair, they will allow you to log in. If they are not pair, they will not allow you to log in. Right, sir? Okay. Without password, I am able to log in into AWS. That's true. But I can do that only from this machine, because key pair was created on this machine. Any other machine I will not be able to log in, because if you remember, we have created a key pair that exists on the system. So if key pairs are created by your organizational servers, the users can log in into AWS virtual machines or Azure virtual machines only from your organizational servers, not from anywhere. That is much better than username and password, because if it is username and password, I have an IP address, I give you password, and anywhere on the world you can able to log in. So now what is secure? Logging in from a fixed machine or logging in from anywhere when password leaks out? What is more secure? Okay, right. So tomorrow at what time? We'll have a class at the same time, sir. Tomorrow also we'll have the class at the same. The grooming sessions same time. Morning sessions have started. That are Azure will be at 6:30. AWS will be at 7:45, and DevOps will be at 7:45, and AWS will be at 9 o'clock. Those are normal timings. Grooming session will have the same class. Okay, right. Okay, sir. So I think I'll stop it at that. And sorry for if my voice is not convincing. Yeah, I have some throat issues. So just give me 1 or 2 days of time. I think throat will become normal in the meantime. Okay, right, sir. Good. I'll stop it at that. Yeah, and we'll meet again tomorrow to continue this discussion. Yeah. So, and I'll be uploading these notes and adding the link to this notes in the description section, like what I do every day. Okay.